Have her sit right there. I got you.
Okay.
Where's the drone?
Excuse me. Oh, I wish. Am I okay now?
Wow.
Sir, you're gonna have to step out of the way.
Ladies and gentlemen, about to begin the funeral service. We ask if we could just clear this pathway over there so nobody stands in front of the camera because we're live streaming. Officiating Rabbi Louis Lazowski. After the interment, the family will be sitting Shiva at the Kagan residence, 9646 Kildare, where they'll be there daily from 9 to 12 p.m., 2 to 5 p.m., and 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. If you have a cell phone, a pager, if you could turn it to the silent mode.
You're gonna have to step out of the way. Just a little bit. Just give me a second. Okay?
Eishes chayil mi yimtza v'rochok mimtini michra batach bolei baila v'shalalo yechsor kamlasu tov v'lora kol yemei chayeha kappa porceliani v'yadeh shilcha la'evion nora b'sharim baila v'shivtam ziknei oretz oz v'hador levusha v'tischak l'yom acharon piar poscha v'chachma v'soras chesed al shona tzafia halichos beisa v'lechem atzlus lo sochel Kamo b'nei v'yashrua ba'ala v'hala rabot banot osochoyel v'at alita kulana sheker achein v'hevel ayofi shayiras adnai hitis halal tnulam b'priyadev v'yaloa b'sharim asel. A woman of valor who can find for her price is far above rubies the heart of her loved ones to safely trust in her, and they have no lack of gain. She does good and not evil all the days of her life. She stretches out her hands to the poor. She reaches forth her hands to the needy. Her family is known in the gates when they sit among the elders of the land. Strength and dignity are her clothing, and she laughs at the times to come. She opens her mouth with wisdom, and the law of kindness is on her tongue. She looks well to the ways of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children rise up and call her blessed. Her family and they praise her. Many daughters have done valiantly, but thou excellest them all. Grace is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman that fears the Lord, she shall be praised. Give her of the fruit of her hands, and let her works praise her in the gates. Psalm 15, Mizmor LaDavid Adonai miyagor b'yolecha, mishkon b'har kodshecha. Holach tamim foel tzedek, v'davar emes bilvovo. Lo ra l'shono lo asol rei ra, v'cherpa lo nasal krovo. Nivze beinav nimas v'yishirat Adonai yechabed. Yishbalo rav lo yamir, kaspo lo nasan baneshech v'shochet al naki lo lakach, o se'ela lo yimot liolam. God, who shall sojourn in your tabernacle, and who will dwell on your holy mountain? He that walks uprightly and works righteousness and speaks truth in their heart, he that has no slander upon his tongue, nor does evil to his fellow, nor takes up a reproach against his neighbor, in whose eyes a vile person is despised, but he honors those that fear the Lord. He that swears to his own hurt and does not change, he that does not put his money out on interest, nor take a bribe against the innocent, he that does these things shall never be moved. 23rd Psalm, I believe it's in the back of your service folders. Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai roi lo echzor, v'nosteshe yaritzeni al memenucho shenaleini, nafshi yishovei v'yancheni b'ma'aglei tzedek l'ma'an shemo, gam ki elech b'geit salmoves lo yivara ki atay madi, shiftecha mishantecha hema yinachamuni, ta'aroch lefonai shulchan neged tzoroi, dishanta b'shem en roshi kosi rivaya, ach tov v'chesed yirdefuni kayimei chayoi, Shafti b'beis Adonai liyorach yamim. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in the green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He guides me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. We're here to pay final tribute to Lisa Ann Schreier, and there will be 2 Maspedium this morning. We'll first call upon Lisa's brother, Mark, and then we'll call on Lisa's sister, Sandra. So this time, Mark, if you'd step forward.
Thank you all for coming. Lisa loved Chicago, but she hated the weather, and she always had a gift of coming back to Chicago when the weather was like this, so it's not unusual to be here in this type of weather. Anyway, when growing up, Lisa and I and Sandra were not the coolest kids in town. We were the nerdy group, and I was probably more nerdy because I liked classical music and I didn't like rock and roll. And Lisa introduced me to a couple things, namely rock and roll. She dragged me once kicking and screaming to a laser light show with the rock and roll, and that's why I always liked classical music, but then I got my love for rock and roll from Lisa. And unbeknownst to probably everybody here, she introduced me to Taco Bell. I had never been to Taco Bell in my life, and she took me to my first Taco Bell, and the rest is history. Then she introduced me to stuff like Monty Python. We were big Monty Python fans, and we used to watch Monty Python all the time. And hockey, you know, growing up, I was a big Blackhawks fan. She was a big Canadiens fan, and I always thought it was, she did it just to spite me and my dad to like the Canadiens instead of the Blackhawks. But she was more of a hockey aficionado than any of us were. She knew what the better team was, and she always liked Montreal, and it was good. Always very generous with her time, advice, and money. When I was going through my flight lessons back in Milwaukee, up down the road here, back in late 70s, I was short a couple $1,000 to cover my flight training. She covered that for me, and I'll be forever grateful for that. She was always took an interest in whatever I was doing, whether it was my flying, my railroading, my baseball, my hockey, my traveling, my dog, or my wife. She always wanted to know what we're doing and what's going on. It was always very good. She always was willing to give advice and to give her best thoughts in any situation. She bought our dog Denali his favorite Mickey Mouse bed, the rings, and it was the dog's favorite bed and the favorite rings, and her new our new dog, still likes him a lot, and it's great. Lisa traveled the world, and went to London. She went to Indonesia. She went over to place. She also was a published author. She wrote 3 books, and she never gave herself credit for that. But it was a very big accomplishment, and she never gave herself the accolades that she deserved. When she moved to Florida, she loved showing off Disney. She loved Disney, and she always took us to the Disney World and showed us everything. She was really fond of that and loved to show off that. She was always an advocate for for people who needed help, especially when the timeshare business. She really advocated for people to not be taken advantage and tried to change the industry. But recently, we talked a lot recently in the last few weeks because the West Wing was on a marathon, and we both loved the West Wing, and we talk about that a lot. And then the joke was, all right, just one more episode. Next thing you know, we're 6 hours into it, and we talked a lot about that. And we talked about the Blackhawks and the Canadians' woes, and she always talked about how bad the weather was, especially the last month or so in Florida. It was pretty cold, but it was it. And it's just, I talked to her, 3 times a week, and I'm kind of miss that. And thank you all for coming. So, thanks.
Oh, thank you. Thanks. I want to thank all of you for coming today. Many of you knew my sister, but many of you did not. And your presence here today is very comforting for myself and my entire family. As my brother said, my sister hated the cold, and so a funeral in Chicago in January would not have been something that she would have been excited about. The fact that it's raining might also be her doing, because that would have given her something to complain about, and she would have liked that. I'm the youngest in the family, and so for all my life there's always been the 3 of us. Lisa was the large, Mark was the medium, and I was the small one. And so it's going to take some getting used to now for Mark and me. Well, now when I tell Mark that he's my favorite sibling, it's almost going to seem meaningless. Rabbi Ludzowski came to our house on Sunday to gather information for my sister's eulogy, and while we were very good with the autobiographical information of date of birth, school attended, degrees bestowed, jobs held, we were not so good with other pertinent information, which made Rabbi's job a little more difficult. The discussion with the rabbi went something like this. Rabbi would ask, "What was Lisa like?" To which we responded, "Stubborn." And then he would ask, "What was she like as a child?" And we responded, "Stubborn." And then he asked what her co-workers might say about her, and we responded, "Stubborn." And she was very, very stubborn. I brought my cat Simka to the vet when he was just a kitten, and he was play biting the vet, which as a kitten is very cute. But my vet cautioned me that I needed to break that habit early on, because while kitten biting is really cute, cat biting not so much. And that's what I think about with my sister. We told the rabbi a story of when my sister was a very little girl, still in a stroller. My mother took her to the grocery store, and she nabbed an onion off of the rack. And my mom got to the cashier with her and saw the onion, and she said, "Lisa, give the onion back." And my sister refused to give the onion back. Now, she didn't really want the onion, because what kid wants to chew on an onion? But it was really just a matter of stubbornness. She did get a nickname from that, though. She got the nickname of Zwiebel, which is Yiddish and German for onion. So she was known as Zwiebel for a long time. So she didn't really want anyone telling her what to do. And that was very cute as a child, but again, not so much as an adult. The last 10 years or so, my sister's life was tough on her and tough on all of us. When she was diagnosed with the autoimmune disease of scleroderma, we have all met people who, in the face of adversity, be it a life-changing diagnosis or other calamity, rise to the occasion to fight and give it all they can. My sister was not really that kind of person. She was always independent, and she did not welcome this interloper to her good health, which proceeded to slowly rob her of the person that she was. So I think we've established that my sister was incredibly stubborn, but she was also a lot of other things. Along with my Aunt Carol, she was the repository of all family knowledge. My sister remembered every car that my family ever had in the order that they had it. She could tell you in detail about the furniture in every house she lived growing up, and who was at every birthday party, and where it was held, and what flavor the cake was. She was a repository of geographical history. Many conversations we had begun with me asking something like, what was the name of that restaurant that was on Dempster in Morton Grove? And she knew the answer. It was called Parfait's. She was an incredibly loyal friend. While most people understand that people come in and out of your life in different times and that true friends are both hard to cultivate and even harder to keep, my sister seemed to keep in touch with just about everybody that she ever worked with. She was extremely well-read and up to date on all current events, and in that respect, we were very like-minded. I can tell you that I won't be able to have the same conversations about politics with Mark as I had with Lisa. She was a lover of all animals, was not only an excellent cat parent to her cats Tiara, Muffin, Julian, and Romberg, she was also a great pet aunt, as my brother said, taking delight in all of my cats, past and present, as well as Mark and Jan's dogs. She was a great cheerleader, very proud of my achievements, whether it was the Cat Cafe or more recently the attainment of my master's degree. From the time that I came into the world, she was an excellent older sister. When I was born, my sister was in 6th grade, and for a school project, she wrote a whole book about my arrival with illustrations. She let me borrow her Barbies, her cassette tapes, her albums, her very cool blue Mustang with a denim interior, which was way cooler to drive than my mom's Dodge LeBaron, which my mom probably wouldn't have let me borrow anyway. As my brother alluded to, 90% of my musical tastes were because of my sister. She took me to my first concert, and it is because of her that I know every word to every song of Jesus Christ Superstar. We played it on an endless loop at Camp Oconomowoc during an outing with our synagogue, and it is my guess that we were the only Jewish family to be doing that. She was a lover of music, from the Beatles to Zeppelin, and always had something playing in her car or in her house. And as my brother said, she was kind and generous with both her money and her time. Over the course of her life, my sister probably lent out more money than Chase and had a higher default rate than Capital One. If I had a problem and I mentioned it to her, she would research the issue and send me 12 articles on the subject, all by text and all in rapid succession. She was an advocate, as my brother said. After moving to Florida to escape this cold that we're in right now, she worked in the timeshare industry for several years and afterwards began advocating for consumers whom she felt were getting scammed in one of the most scammy industries there is. And I speak for my mother when I say that she was a good daughter, always calling my mom and offering advice on how my mom really needed to get up and walk and take an exercise class and go to physical therapy. All the advice that she herself should have been taking. And just like that, we are back to stubborn. Barbara Walters was 93 years old when she passed away just a day before my sister did. Barbara seemed like the kind of person that aged with grace and dignity. We all know people like that. My sister wasn't that kind of person either. Her favorite song from one of her favorite groups, The Who, was My Generation, and I think my sister's favorite line in that song was, "Hope I die before I get old." I conclude with a quote from the Midrash, which is even surprising for me. And before you all get too excited that I'm gunning for Rabbi's job, the truth is that I saw it on a plaque yesterday at the funeral home. Rejoice not over the ship that is setting out to sea, for you know not what destiny awaits it, what storms it may encounter, what dangers lurk before it. Rejoice rather over the ship that has reached port safely and brought back all of its passengers home in peace. My sister would have loved a eulogy that contained references from Led Zeppelin and Jesus Christ Superstar and The Who and the Midrash. So while my sister is no longer of this world, I do take comfort knowing that she is free of her physical limitations now and doesn't have to face any more of the indignities of aging, because you know what, that would not have been her thing, as she would have said. Lisa, you and I were only 8 years apart, but sometimes those 8 years felt like 80 light years. But for as long as I've been a part of this universe, you and Mark made up my entire solar system. I love you and I already miss you. Rest in peace, my friend.
when I was at the home, Lisa's mom made a very poignant comment that Lisa shouldn't have gone before her. And that's a very, very true statement. It's shelo kederech ha'olam. It's not the way of the world for a daughter to precede a parent. And it's a very difficult thing, and there are no words to describe it. I know my mother, Alaa Shalom, used to say to people, because my mother also lost a child, said, congratulations to you. Well, she didn't say congratulations. She said, I'm officially welcoming you to a club that nobody wants to be a member of. And it's a pain that, as my mother told me, that goes away with time, but it's a pain that nobody should have to endure. Today is a fast day, Tesar B'Teves, the 10th day of Teves. And the reason that we fast today, since the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash, the destruction of both temples, is because on this day, the city of Jerusalem was surrounded, which eventually led to the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash. That's one reason we fast today. The second reason that we fast today is because of the Septuagint. Now, the Septuagint, Targum Hashemim, as it's known in the Gemara, was when the Greeks forced us to translate the Torah into Greek, which was the first time that had ever happened. And all of the sages were put in different rooms. There were 70 sages put in different rooms, and each one made the exact same change to the text of the Torah, so that the Greeks shouldn't, they wanted to make sure that we were giving them an accurate translation of the Torah. And again, all of the sages made the exact same changes to make sure that everybody understood what was the meaning of the Torah rather than the literal meaning. So, for example, Bereshis bara Elokim, in the beginning of God's creating, they changed that to Elokim bara Bereshis, the Almighty created first, because if the text had been written as it was in the original, there would have been misunderstandings. The third reason that we fast today is because today is the yahrzeit of Ezra HaSofer. Ezra was one who led the Jewish people back after the destruction of the first temple. He led the Jewish people back to Yerushalayim, and he actually he was known as Ezra the Sofer, Ezra the scribe, because as the Talmud tells us, there were two different alphabets that were used in the writing of the Torah, Ksav Ashuris and Ksav Livnois. Ksav Livnois, the people upon their return from the exile had forgotten that alphabet. So instead, the alphabet that is used in our Torah today, Ksav Ashuris, is the writing that's found in today's Torahs. And again, Ezra gave us that so that we'd be able to understand the Torah and be able to take from its hidden resources to inspire us in our lives. The loss of a person is like the loss of an entire world. As Joseph B. Soloveitchik mentions, every person is unique, every person is special, every person has the ability to build worlds or destroy worlds. And so when we lose a loved one or any person from this earth, we're losing an entire world. And that's certainly true for Leah, for Lisa. Her departure is the loss of a world, not just for the family, but for all of us. This Shabbos, we're also going to read Parshas Vayechi, which is extremely apropos, because in the Parsha of Vayechi, we talk about the passing of our father Jacob, of the last of the patriarchs. And prior to his passing, he prayed for illness. Prior to Jacob, there was never any illness. People used to sneeze and die. That's today, for this, even to this day, when somebody sneezes, we say, God bless you, or Gesundheit, or we pull their ear, because if you'd see somebody on the ground, they didn't know if they were living or if they'd passed away, they would pull on their ear to see, are you alive or not? So Jacob prayed for illness so that he would be able to pass on his blessings to each of his children, the 12 tribes. And each of us, in our own ways, in our lifetimes, pass on the blessings of those things that we feel most important to one another. What some people might call stubbornness, others may call resilient. I think that tenacity was the defining characteristic of Isaac, that no matter what people tried to do to him, he said, I know what I've got to do here. They stopped up my wells, I'm going to dig them up again. I'm going to open them up again. And those wells of Isaac that he named them were not just idle names. I mean, why would the Torah tell us the names of wells? It seems silly. But the answer is that each one of the wells was describing the Beit HaMikdash. Each one of the names that was given by Isaac was going to define our history and our destiny. And this is what I think in many respects Leah Bas Yisrael did as well. She tried to teach us about music, whatever the music. Often we forget the words, but we'll remember the tune. That's what we have in Bishalach, that's what we have in the Els Yashir, the Shir Hashirim, many, many different songs of the Torah that we may not remember the words, but we'll remember the emotions of an older sister, of one who lends us their car, who has more defaults than Capital One. Thank you. I'm not up on that particular. But she was always a wonderful friend. She always, as her mother said, she was a golden neshama. She had a golden heart. These were lessons that she transmitted to us with her tenacity. That we should be a good friend to everybody. We should take the time to call our families and let them know that they matter to us. We should take the time to lend money and forget about the fact that we're never going to see it again. That's okay. Because in truth, in this world, nothing belongs to us. Everything belongs to Almighty God. The years we have, the homes we have, the furniture, the cars, the animals that we're kind to, all these things are attributes that Leah Bas Yisrael passed on to each and every one of us. And finally, the Parsha Vayechi is known as a Parsha Stuma. It's known as a closed Parsha because there's no space between last week's Parsha Vayigash and this coming week's Parsha Vayechi. And as Rashi mentions, why is it known as a Parsha Stuma? On the one hand, because the Jewish people were about to be enslaved and they understood that the world would be different than the world that they had been used to. And also Rashi says, Shebikesh Yaakov legalos etzaketz levana v'nistam mimenu, that as the Medrash Rabbah said, that Yaakov Avinu wanted to reveal the future to all of us. What would the world look like? What would a world of kindness look like? What would a world of resolve look like? What would a world of being kind to your friends? What would a world look like of people that were crusaders to help other people? I mean, who else would write a book as one of the books, Time Sharing for Dummies, right? So that people could not only be taken advantage of, but they could know the ins and outs, and they could advocate for themselves as well as others. Tremendous lesson for each and every one of us. To be there for someone else in a time of need, and for the people that we don't know, to write instructions to them, dummies or not dummies, to be able to learn how to make life a better place, how to make a world of kindness. Yaakov wanted to reveal the future to all of us, to his children, but he was prevented from doing so. And I'm sure that Lisa wanted to reveal to us in her own way what she felt the world should be like and how we can make it so. And what would be the most fitting way to pay tribute to Lisa? How can we perpetuate and sanctify her memory? by being crusaders, being advocates for others, to make a world a better place, to use our talents, whatever they are, our God-given gifts, to work on ourselves, to get a heart of wisdom, to work on ourselves to have a heart of gold. You don't just get a heart of gold, you work to develop a heart of gold. To be kind and to use your life experiences for the betterment of others. We ask her mechila if in our lifetimes we didn't respect her properly, and we ask her to be a good better for the ganze mishpacha. We ask her to be an interceder for her mother, for her brother, for her sister, for the extended family members, for her aunt Carol, for her cousins David, Dvora, and Leah, and for her cat Romberg, and all of the other animals that she has showed kindness to, and certainly for each and every person that has crossed her path in life. At this time, we are going to participate in the kvura and the burial. Burial is known as a chesed shel emes, is a kindness of truth. And it's known as a kindness of truth for a simple reason. When we do favors for other people, whether we lend them money and expect it back or not, it's in the back of your mind, well, maybe one day they'll actually come up with the dough. And but when it comes to kvura, when it comes to burial, absolutely no thoughts of ever getting that good deed back. And that's why participating in the burial is such a big mitzvah. I also remember something that Rabbi Oscar Fassman always used to say, Zichrono Livracha, that we never like to leave a grave open. Because when we leave a grave open, the message is we've taken from this world. We've not added to this world. We've not given to this world. And so that's another reason to participate in the Kavura, to show that everybody who's lived has given to this world and has made the world a better place. May her soul be bound up in the bonds of eternal life, and may she continue to inspire us and to look after us in the Olam Hames, in the world of truth. There is a custom to at least put 3 shovels of earth in the caver, and to not the shovel be handed from one person to another. So at this time, I will begin with that, and I'll ask the cemetery personnel to actually lower the dirt so that people will be able to participate in this Chesed Shel Emes. During the Kvura, we'll recite the Tzedek Hadin, the actual funeral service. On the board, please. Yes, on the board. Thank you. And after that, when we're done with the Kvura, then we'll recite both the Kel Malei Rachamim and then the burial Kaddish. Hatsur Tamim Pa'alo, Kichal Rochav Mishpat, El Emunavi and Avel, Tzadik V'Yashahu, Hatsur Tamim B'chol Poal, Mi Omarlo, Matifol, Hashalit B'Matov Mal, Memi Sumachaya, Morid Sha'ol V'Yoal. Hatsur Tamim B'chol Masa, Mi Omarlo, Matase, Omer Yosef Chesed Chinam Lanu Ta'ase, B'schus Hanekad Keseh Hakshiva V'Yaseh, Tzadik B'chol Rochav, Hatsur Tamim, Erech Apayim V'Lirachmim, Chamol Na V'chus Now Avos V'Onim, Kilcha Adon Haslichos V'Rachamim. Tzadik Atvar Adonai L'Hamisol Hachios, Asher B'Yodcha Pikdon Kol Ruchos, Cholil L'cha Zichronenu Nimchos, Vino Einecha B'Rachamim Aleinu B'Kuchos, Kilcha Adon HaRachamim V'Haslichos, Adamim Ben Shana Yichya Elef Shanim Yichya, Ma'Yisrael Kalo Haya Yiyah, Baruch Dain HaEmes Memi Sumachaya, Baruch Hu Ki Emes Dino, M'Shotet HaKol Be'ino, M'Shalem L'Adam Cheshbon V'Dino, HaKol Lishmo Hadai Yitenu, Medan Adonai Ki Tzadik Mishpatecha, Titztak B'Dvorecha V'Tizke B'Shavtecha, Ve'en L'Hayher Acher Midas Shavtecha, Tzadik Ato Adonai Ki Yashem Mishpatecha, Dayan Emes Shofet Tzedek V'Emes, Baruch Dain HaEmes, Shkol Mishpatav Tzedek V'Emes, Nefesh Kol Chai B'Yadecha Tzedek V'Ola Yeminecha, Rachem Al Pleitas Tzon Yadecha B'Sona L'Malach Heref Yadecha, Gedol Ha'etzav Rav Alunya, Asher Einecha B'Kuchos Al Kol Darchei B'nei Adam, L'Seis Lish Gidrocha V'Chifri Ma'al Lolav, Agit Yashua Adonai Tzri V'Lo B'Lasavo, Adonai Nasan V'Adonai L'Koch, Yehi Shem Adonai Mevarach, V'Hu Rachum Yechaper Bo V'Lo Yashchis, V'Yivol Yeshiva Po V'Lo Yo'ir Kol Chamaso. The sheltering rock, his work is perfect, for all his ways are justice. A God of faithfulness and without iniquity, just and right is he. The sheltering rock perfect in all his works, who dare say, what dost thou? To him who rules above and below, who takes away life and gives it, who brings down to the grave and raises up therefrom. The sheltering rock perfect in all his deeds, who dare say to him, what dost thou? Thou who promises and fulfills, show your gracious mercy to us, and for the sake of him who is bound on the altar like a lamb Isaac, hearken to our prayer and grant our request. Thou who art righteous in all your ways, rock of perfection, long-suffering, and abundant in mercy, we beseech thee, have pity and compassion on us, and spare both the fathers and the children, for to thee, O Lord, pertain compassion and pardon. Righteous art thou, O Lord, in taking away or giving life. For in thy hand are pledged all spirits. Far be it from thee to blot us from memory, or look towards us with mercy, for thou the Lord of mercy and pardon. If a man live 1 year or 1,000 years, of what avail is it? For is he not as though he had never been? Praise be the true judge, who takes away and gives life. Praise be he, for his judgments are true, as he scrutinizes all things and rewards man according to his deeds. Let all men therefore praise his name. We know that thy judgments are right, thy decrees just, thy judgments pure, and none shall presume to question thy judgments. Thou art a true judge, for all thy judgments are true. The soul of every living creature is in your hand, for there is justice in your command. Have mercy on the remnant of your flock, and say to the angel of destruction, withdraw your hand. O thou art great in counsel and mighty in action, who scrutinizes the ways of the children of men, and rewards each one according to his ways and the fruits of his labor, manifesting that the Lord is upright. He is my sheltering rock, in whom there is no iniquity. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken. Praise be the name of the Lord. He, the most merciful, forgive iniquity and destroy not. Often he turns aside his anger and does not awaken his wrath. read some Psalms. Lamlatzeh Afinu Korach Mizmor Shemizos Cholamim Azinu Kol Yosh Becheled Gam B'nei Adam Gam B'nei Ish Yachar Ashir V'Avion Pi Yedaber Chochmos V'Kos Libi Tmunos Tala Marshal Ozni Eftach B'Chinor Kidasi Lama Irabi Meira Avon Akeva Yisubeni Abot Chimal Chelam V'Rov Ashram Talalo Ach Lo Fora Yifte Ish Lo Yitain Lohim Kofro Yekar Pidyon Nafsham V'Chod Aliolam Vichi Od Lo Netzach Lo Yirah Shachas Kireh Chachamim Yamusu Yached Ksil Vavar Yoveda Vios V'Leacheim Chelam Kirbam B'Seimol Yolam Yishkenosam L'Dor V'Dor Koru B'Shmosam Alei Adamos Adam Bikor Bal Yolin Imshal Kavhemos Nidmu Zedakom Keselam Oleachrem B'Fiem Yirtzu Sela Katzon Lishol Shasu Moves Yiraim V'yir Duvam Yisharim Lavokir Tzuram Lavalos Sha'ol Mizvalo Achalahim Yiften Avshim Yad Sha'ol Ki Kocheni Sela Al Tiro Ki Asher Ish Ki Yerbek Vod Beso Kilov Mosi Kachakol Lirid Achrav Godo Kinashav Chayav Yorech V'yaducha Ki Seitilach Tavo Adoravo Savad Netzach Yoror Adavi Korbo Yavin Imshal Kamos Nidmu Tam David Shamrini Elki Chasisi Vach Amar Tladanoy Adnoyata Tovosi Balalacha Vikdosham Asher Ba'oret Hema Vadire Kol Chetzivam Yibu Atzvosa Macher Maharu Balasichnis Kehamidam Valasa Ishmosam Al Svosoi Adonai Menos Chalki V'kosi Atos Amich Dorali Kavolim Nafnuli Ban Imim Af Nachlas Shafra Aloi Avarech Es Adonai Asher Yotzani Af Lilos Yisruni Chayosoi Shvis Yadonai Lenegli Sami Kimi Bal Emot Lochein Samach Li Bivi Agel Kvodi Av Besar Yishkon Levetach Kilo Azov Nafshi Lishol Lositin Chasid Choli Rosh Shachas Todieni Orachayim Savas Machosas Benecha Imos Min Chanetzach Yoshe V'Seisrael Yom Tzel Shaddai Yislonon Amar Ladonai Machsim Tzidos Il Hayata Bo Ki Yitzel Chamim Pach Yaakov Midever Chavos Dever So Yasech Loch V'Tachas K'nafov Techset Sinav Sarirami To Lo Sirami Pachad Loila Machet Yof Yomam Midever V'Yofel Yaloch Mikerev Yasut Tzoroim Yashut Tzoroim Yipol Mitzchoel Avruvam Yinecha Elecha Lo Yigosh Rak Beinecha Sabit Lashrem Tireh Yetod Naimastil Yon Samtam Yonecha Lo Sunel Rav Negev Krav Yolecha Kimilov Yisavelach Mishmorcha B'chol Rochecha Al Kapayim Yisoncha Pentigop Bevan Raglecha Al Shachal Vafesen Tidrov Jemos Kfir V'Sanid Kivi Chashak V'Afalteyo Asagveu Kira Shemi Ukraini V'Neu Imono Chivetzorach Al Tev Yachab Teo Arachemi Masbiyeyo Yareb Yishuasi Arachemi Masbiyeyo Yareb Yishuasi Something to do with that. It's in there. Please rise for the Kelmali. Mr. Schreier, you could sit. You could sit. Elmoi Rachamim, Shochein Bamrumim, Hamtzei Menachonachona Tachas Kanfei Hashchina, Malos Kidoshim Etorim Ksar Kiamasim Nishmas, Leabas Yisrael Shalcha Yelamah, Bavur Shemish Pachta No Denut Stak Baraskras Nishmasa, Beganeden Temenuchasa, Lachein Barachamim Yaster Ebsisachov Liamim, Vitro Vitracham Nishmas Adonai Anachalasa. O God, full of compassion, God who dwells on high, grant perfect rest beneath the sheltering wings of Thy presence among the holy and pure, who shine as the brightness of the firmament to the soul of Leah Bas Yisrael, who is gone into eternity, and whose memory charity is offered by friends and family. May her repose be in paradise. May the Lord of mercy bring her under the cover of His wings forever. May her soul be bound up in the bonds of eternal life. May the Lord be her possession. May her repose be peace. Amen. Now the mourners will recite the Kaddish. Yiskadel, Yiskadash, Shemei Rabah, Bialma, Divara, Chirusei, Viamlich, Malchusei, Bechayechon, Uviomechon, Uvachaye, Dechol, Beis Yisrael, Ba'agala obizaman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shmei rabba mivarach leolam omei omayo. Yisbarach v'yishtabach v'yisba'ar v'yisromam v'yisnasei v'yishador v'yishaleh v'yishalol shemei tekudsha brichu le'elah min kol birchasa v'shirasa tushbechasa v'nechemasa da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chaim olenu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom v'imromav Hu Ya'aseh Shalom, Olenu V'al Kol Yisrael V'imru Amen. Okay, friends, if you would form two lines on either side for the Shura, and we'll say the Birchas Avelim as the mourners walk through. And again,